His village had no music schools, no stages, no microphones. Electricity came and went like a guest who never stayed long. But in that silence, something special lived. A voice. A voice that was fragile, cracked, and broken, yet filled with emotion so deep it felt older than the boy himself. He did not know what vocal training was. He did not know scales or techniques. All he knew was that when he sang, his chest felt lighter, as if pain had found a way out. As a child, sickness visited his body too often. A fever once burned so high that doctors said it might steal his voice forever. When he recovered, the sound that came out of his throat was no longer smooth. It was rough, trembling, almost painful to hear at first. Kids in the village laughed. Some adults shook their heads and told him to stop singing before he embarrassed himself. They said a broken voice could never become music. But he kept singing. He sang while working in the fields, while carrying water, while walking barefoot on dusty roads. He sang to the stars at night when hunger made sleep impossible. Every crack in his voice carried a memory, every rough note carried a tear he never cried. Music became his shelter, his prayer, his only dream. One day, a traveling teacher visited the village and heard the boy singing softly near a well. The teacher stopped, frozen, not because the voice was perfect, but because it was honest. There was pain in that sound, pain that could not be taught or faked. The teacher asked the boy if he had ever thought of singing on a bigger stage. The boy laughed. A stage was something he had only seen on a broken television in a shop miles away. Still, the idea planted itself in his heart. Months later, through borrowed money, favors, and impossible hope, the boy stood in a city he had never seen before. Tall buildings, bright lights, and people rushing past without noticing him. He held a small bag, wearing worn clothes, his hands shaking. Ahead of him was the audition hall, a place where dreams either begin or end. Inside, hundreds of voices filled the air. Some were powerful, some confident, some trained. The boy stood quietly in a corner, afraid that one word from him would reveal how small he felt. When his number was called, his legs felt weak. He walked onto the stage, blinded by lights, facing judges whose faces he had only seen on screens. They asked him where he was from. He answered honestly, his accent thick, his voice already trembling. They asked why he was there. He paused, swallowed, and said he was there because singing was the only thing that made his pain feel meaningful. Then the music began. The first note came out cracked, fragile, almost breaking apart. A few people in the audience exchanged looks. This was not what they expected. But then something changed. The boy closed his eyes, and the song stopped being about notes. It became about his life. Every struggle, every hungry night, every moment of being told he was nothing poured out through that broken voice. The cracks turned into emotion. The roughness turned into truth. The room grew silent. Judges leaned forward. The audience stopped breathing. It felt as if time itself had slowed down to listen. Tears formed in eyes that had seen thousands of auditions before. This was not a perfect performance. It was a human one. When the final note faded, there was a moment of complete silence. Then, one clap. Then another. Then the entire room exploded. People stood, cheering, crying, shouting his name. The boy opened his eyes, confused, overwhelmed, unsure if he was dreaming. The judges struggled to speak. One of them wiped their eyes and said that they had heard many great voices. Then something happened that no one expected. A judge stood up, walked slowly, and without another word, pressed the golden buzzer. The sound echoed like thunder. Golden confetti rained down from above, covering the boy in light. He dropped to his knees, hands over his face, crying uncontrollably. He had seen this moment on screens, never imagining it could be his. The audience roared. The judges smiled through tears. In that moment, the poor village kid with a broken voice was no longer invisible. Back home, the village gathered around a small television. People who once laughed now cried. Neighbors who never believed now whispered prayers of gratitude. His family held each other, unable to speak, watching their son rise beyond the limits they had always known. But the story did not end with the buzzer. Training was hard. Fame was overwhelming. Critics still existed. Some said his voice was too rough, too damaged to last. But now, he had learned something powerful. His weakness was his strength. His broken voice was not something to hide, but something to honor. Every time he stepped on stage after that, he remembered the dusty roads, the hunger, the nights of doubt. He sang for the kids who were told they were not enough. He sang for the voices that were never heard. He sang to remind the world that perfection is not what moves hearts. Today, his journey continues, not just as a singer, but as a symbol. Proof that where you come from does not decide where you can go. Proof that pain can become purpose. Proof that even a broken voice can shake the world. If this story touched your heart, remember this. Your scars do not disqualify you. Your struggles do not silence you. Sometimes, the very thing that feels broken inside you is the reason your story matters.